T minus 3, 2, 1, ignition.
What you know about this life? Yeah. Just relax, baby, get high. Yeah, you're on your way to the best night ever. No top on it, no top, no top. Out with the stars.
What is going on, everyone? This is your three-time loser, aka the dynasty of the Best Night Ever League, home and owner of teams the 6-9s, Team Shit, and Cam's son, Andrew. We are back with another season of fantasy football, which may be the last, you never know, but we'll see how the year goes. Again, this is always a fun time. It's always a good time to watch some football. It'll be stressful to your eyeballs, but also a good time just to compete with your picks for the year, and just excited for another year of fantasy football. So without further ado, let's review the draft, the pre-week 1 draft that we all did in Las Vegas, which was a fun trip. Now, I am doing this after week 1, but I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible with what I've seen and what my expectations were before I saw everyone play. So during the draft, we got a lot of running backs picked in the first round. I believe that there was for the first 6 picks ended up being running backs, and then Jacob broke the barrier with that fat Darren Waller pick at his pick, and then Michael goes receiver, and then we go receiver, and then 2 quarterback, receiver, and then so on and so forth. So, not that you all need to know that, but just want to give you a little bit of a recap of what the first 2 rounds consisted of. Let's go to the first pick, which was supposed to be Michael, but I'm just going to start with Connor's team because he actually had the first 2 picks. He ended up staying with those young, quick quarterbacks with Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had a great end of the season last year, and Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. I think his quarterbacks are pretty solid going into this year. A lot of potential there, and I think I'll go further with it a little bit in this video, but I think Connor is the heavy favorite, and if he doesn't win, that would be pretty sad considering he had what, 4 picks within the first 8. I know he traded back for a little bit, but then he also kept players like Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Lamar Jackson. And then I think who did he end up keeping after that? Oh, it was Cam Akers who got injured. But yeah, let's go to his running backs. Again, they're pretty stacked. But minus the Cam Akers injury, he still has Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, who could easily get a fat 25-piece day in and day out. He got receivers like Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, you got that Jacksonville receiver on the bench, and his tight end racks up with Kyle Pitts. Overall, pretty good draft for Connor. I expect him to do well this season. Barring injuries, I think he would be a heavy favorite this season. Let's move on to the second pick, which is T-Bay, who ended up picking with his second pick, James Robinson, who I know is very highly anticipated. I know earlier before the Travis Etienne, whatever his name is, his injury, I know his stock went up went up really, really high after that. Anyway, he ended up going with him with his first pick, and then he ended up trading up in the draft, getting Keenan Allen, so he has that power combo with Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen. That should be on the lookout this year. I know Justin Herbert was insane last year, and Keenan Allen just always a 9-10 target kind of game. 9-10 type reception kind of game, so good for Thomas there. He ended up keeping, he had Kyler Murray, number 1 quarterback, I think he finished in top 5 quarterback. He's always a solid start day in and day out, getting those rushing yards away from Chase Edmonds and whoever's getting the rushing yards over there. It's always going to be Kyler Murray. He kept Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones solid, and then he ended up keeping Justin Herbert along with that. So his quarterbacks are solid. His running backs on paper are very, very solid. Aaron Jones and Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke lost a couple pounds and is due for a monster season this year, hopefully, or at least a comeback season. And then Aaron Jones is there. He had a good year last year, and Packers signed him back, so he should be good to go. His receivers, you got Scary Terry, who I know was supposed to be really, really good this year, and he got Keenan Allen, and he got Tyler Higbee. Yeah, he could be okay, depending on how Matthew Stafford uses him. But overall, I think Thomas's team can go really, really deep this year. He's got a lot of really good quarterbacks, really good running backs, really good receivers. Barring injuries, I think the only thing that he's going to be worried about is how long can Justin Herbert keep this streak, and can Zeke power through becoming what he was a few years ago. We'll move on to the third pick, which is Cam Ferguson, Turd Ferguson. So his keepers ended up being Joe Burrow, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, and I believe to be Josh Jacobs. I know he probably wasn't happy with those keepers, but those are still a very solid foundation of players. With that third pick, you ended up getting Joe Mixon, which I think was a really, really good pick at 3. He kind of fell to you. It was kind of obvious Connor was going to go with the youngest running back and the one with the most potential. And Najee Harris was there at number 1. So Joe Mixon naturally fell after Travis Etienne's injury, and Cam got him, and I think he's poised for a good year. I think the Bengals will show some light this year, and hopefully Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow can really help you out there. He ended up getting Ryan Tannehill in the second round. Tannehill, I know he was on my team last year, and he did pretty well, so best of luck to him as well. And he racked up a couple of receivers after that. So his quarterbacks consists of Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, pretty solid quarterbacks. His running backs, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, and Josh Jacobs. Those are really good as well. His receiver, he has number 1 receiver in Devontae Adams, Robert Woods. He ended up getting Mark Andrews at tight end. He's a top 5 tight end, so good on that. And then he ended up getting a top 10 receiver in Allen Robinson, so solid draft from Cam as well. I think if I were to rate the first 3, I would do Connor, Thomas, and Cam in that order. Not to put any damper on these teams. Everyone drafted really well, and everyone should be excited about their teams this year. Well, besides me, because we all know I'm going to lose, because that's just, how it works. So after that, we will move on, because I know Connor had the 4th pick. We'll just head right to Michael, even though it's technically Connor's pick. But yeah, we'll move on to Michael, who he solidly had 3 running back keepers and debatably the best receiver, barring Devontae Adams. He ended up keeping Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Tyreek Hill, and Antonio Gibson. Those are 3 solid keepers, running backs. And then with Tyreek Hill being an obvious wide receiver keep, you are in a great shape. And surprisingly, Calvin really fell to his pick. I expect great things this year from him if Matt Ryan continues to throw the ball, because Lord knows he throws a crap ton because they're always behind. So yeah, I just think Michael has always been a scranner quarterback kind of guy. Tom Brady fell to him with the last pick in the 2nd round, so he picked up Tom Brady, who potentially could be a top 5 quarterback. Maybe should have drafted him. Maybe I should have drafted him. I don't know. Maybe we all should. And regardless, I think Tom Brady's going to do you well along with Calvin Ridley. Kirk Cousins a solid pick, typical 25-point week, then a 12-point week, then a 10-point week, then a 30-point week. You're going to get what out of Kirk Cousins, depending on what Vikings do this season. Your running backs, again, were mostly your keepers. Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson. Those are really good running backs. You can interchange those. Hopefully Barkley goes back to what he was a couple years ago and doesn't get injured and stays healthy. Your receivers, once again, Calvin Ridley, Tyreek Hill, those are stacked receivers. You had a wide receiver 4 last year, and I think wide receiver 2, you can't get any better than that. I think it's crazy Calvin really fell that low. I will take blame for how good Michael's team, because I did give him Tyreek Hill, which I know I didn't think he'd be this good, so I will take blame for that. He got TJ Hawkinson late. I think it was the 3rd or 4th round, and I know he's going to be a top 5 tight end this year. So yeah, Michael's team is very solid. I think he is up there with Connor as my favorites to win the league this year, barring injuries. Let's move on to Nick Finley's team, 2nd place last year. Nick Finley had some great quarterback keeps in Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. He also kept Nick Chubb, that bell cow running back, in Cleveland over there. And then he also kept the number 1 tight end, Travis Kelce. Very, very solid keepers. His first pick, he went running back, and he drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire at that pick. He actually fortunately didn't have a pick until the 3rd round, and he got Mike Evans. Honestly, I wish you luck with Mike Evans. I know he's going to be frustrating. One week he'll have 40 yards, 2 catches, and then the next week he'll have 2 touchdowns and 200 yards. So best of luck to him on Finley's team. Yeah, like I said, his quarterbacks are really good. His running backs, Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, really, really solid there. His receivers ended up being Julio Jones and Tyler Lockett, which both had the potential to be really good. They'll be very interchangeable over there. I know those 2 receivers are on two teams that also have good receivers as well. And in fact, I happen to be an inverse of my receivers because I have DK Metcalf and AJ Brown, and you have Tyler Lockett and Julio Jones. Well, I hope they get less touches this year for my sake. And yeah, you have the number one tight end who's going to give you 20 points day in and day out. It's just insane. So yeah, Finley, another solid draft year. You should fare well this year in fantasy like you always do. And then, or at least not like you always do, like you did last year, considering this is your second year. Let's move on to Bobby's team. Bobby had the the pick after Finn's, and he also went running back. He went David Montgomery, I believe, was that pick. And then yeah, later after that, I'm pretty sure he went with, oh man, I can't think of it right now. Maybe you went George Kittle with your pick. Yeah, I think it was George Kittle. But going down the list, his quarterbacks are very solid. 2 top 5 quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott, Josh Allen. Those are going to be solid. And then you have that combo with Stephon Diggs. That will be another solid combo this year. You ended up getting Raheem Mostert at running back. You are a little bit out of depth in that position, but honestly, I've been out of depth in that position for a while, so you'll power through it. Your receivers are insane with DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs. Those are 2 top 5. So not only do you have 2 top 5 quarterbacks, you have 2 top 5 receivers, I think that'll be this year, and you have a top 5 tight end. And you ended up getting Thielen late as your third receiver, and I think he'll fare pretty well this year because I think the focus will be on Jefferson this year. So you have another solid team in Bobby. I would put you a little bit ahead of Finley and a little bit ahead of Cam, but I think you definitely have potential to win this thing too. And so far, I haven't reviewed a team that I don't think that doesn't have the ability not to win. So I think everybody has a solid team that anything can happen. This is fantasy football. Let's move on to Jacob's team, the champion of last year. His keepers are solid again. Dalvin Cook, Patty Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, and not Darren Waller. Sorry, you kept Deshaun Watson, which is unfortunate about that. It happens. But with your first pick, you surprised the entire league with drafting the tight end in the first round. But hey, that tight end's going to work out for you because it's Darren Waller. Got a crap ton of targets last year. Easily could be the number 1 tight end and have Travis Kelce numbers. That really broke it in, or pretty much changed the entire draft, because now it's like people want to get tight ends immediately after that, because remember, Bobby went tight end, and then I'm pretty sure Connor went tight end in the second round. So there's 3 tight ends that were picked really early there. So, and then I don't think you had a pick until the 3rd round. I believe you got Amari Cooper with that pick, which is a solid stinking pick. Hats off to you. You got a really good receiver there. But going down the list, yeah, your second quarterback is Sam Darnold. You fell victim to the Deshaun Watson fiasco, which is a bummer. Oh yeah, your running backs, Dalvin Cook, solid. Ronald Jones, it'll be very dependent on how he'll do this year, because he has Leonard Fournette to compete with, and the Bucs are just going to be throwing the ball, I think, a lot. Justin Jefferson and Amari Cooper are solid receivers, and you have the number 2 tight end, potentially number 1 tight end there. And then you have a few receivers you can plug into that flex position, along with a running back you have there. So, solid draft by Jacob. Again, Patty Mahomes and Dalvin Cook can carry anywhere, especially with the potential of Amari Cooper. So, good after you. And then there's the last place team, myself. I don't see myself winning at anything this year. I mean, this is just typical. Draft recap. I'm pretty sure I had 5 picks within the first 21 picks, even though I didn't have a first round, trying to make the most of my bad situation just because I'm terrible at fantasy football. My keepers this year ended up being Austin Eckler, J.K. Dobbins, DK Metcalf, and A.J. Brown. And unfortunately, J.K. Dobbins, like Cam Akers and Deshaun Watson, unfortunately fell victim and probably will not play this year. That's all right. You got to move, adapt, and positive vibes only this year, regardless if I'm going to still lose anyway. I ended up drafting Matthew Stafford and Chris Carson in the second round. I knew I needed a running back because I just lost one. And like I said, that pool of running backs around the second round, after the first 6 were taken, is just, you're out in left field there. So I had to take one there. And of course, as soon as I do that, Tom Brady gets picked after me. But oh well, bygones be bygones. But going down the list, Matthew Stafford and Trevor Lawrence are my quarterbacks. I got Matthew Stafford because I hope he'll have a decent year with his new team. Trevor Lawrence I got as well. So my quarterbacks are a bit meh. They're no Patty Mahomes. But hopefully they'll do all right. I kept Eckler, got Carson again. Eckler has potential, but bearing injuries, it's up to him. Same thing with Carson. I think my receivers are the best part of my team. I got CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, and DK Metcalf. I think they'll have an all right year. They're posed to be pretty good. It just is all dependent on who they decide to throw to and when they decide to have big weeks. And then I got Noah Fant as my tight end. But overall, I don't see my team winning at all. I mean, let's be honest. I'm going to get last place. We all know how this cookie crumbles. And that is your 2021 draft recap. Everyone has solid teams this year. That's how it always is. And then as the year unfolds, we'll definitely see everyone's true colors and how they become champions and what decisions fantasy managers make to get their team to that next level. I wish everyone the best. This is going to be a fun year. Remember, positive vibes only. And I think everyone has solid teams, and we're going to start this fantasy season right off on a hot note. So without further ado, good luck everyone this year. I know it's going to be a fantastic year, and I don't know, maybe by some sheer luck I'll get 7th instead this year. So signing off. Peace.